Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a very cozy and crafty vlog style video in the mountains of Montana. I am currently on a family ski trip with my husband's family. This is my second year on the ski trip, but they have been going skiing in Montana for many years, and last year was my first time on the trip. It was also only my second time skiing and my first time really skiing as an adult, and even though I survived and did moderately well, I realized that skiing is not really my thing. I do not really chase after the thrill and the excitement of the speed of just skiing down frozen mountains with pieces of wood like strapped to your feet. So I decided that this year I wasn't going to be skiing and that I would actually enjoy my time on the trip a whole lot more without the stress of skiing every day. So with that being said, I have 7 days in a cozy cabin with beautiful snowy mountain views. So obviously it is the perfect time for crafting. And by crafting, I literally just mean crochet and tons of other fun creative projects. So last year on the ski trip is actually when I started like my biggest crochet project to date. You might remember me talking about it in some past videos when I was talking about like future projects. And if you follow me on social media, you might remember seeing it. But last year I started crocheting a blush pink sweater that was based on and inspired by the really popular Cezanne sweater. I think it's called the Emily. I fell in love with that sweater, but obviously you guys know that my whole kind of philosophy is, oh, that's cute, I could make it myself, or that's out of my budget, let me see if I can make it myself. So that was the philosophy with starting this cardigan and starting to crochet it. Now I think I bit off more than I could chew because it was my first like big crochet project using a pattern, not really being familiar with this stitch or exactly how to like read a pattern. Needless to say, I probably did like 1/8 of the project on the trip. I put it aside for like 5 months, picked it back up, finished the back panel only to realize that the second half of like the pink color that I added was a totally different pink shade. Redid that and then realized I was actually doing the incorrect crochet stitch the entire time. And I had also, after completing the back panel, finished like half of a front panel. So anyways, in December, I took apart the entire project, almost a year's worth of crocheting off and on, and restarted it, and we are continuing to work on that project on this trip. However, I have completed the entire back. Everything is perfect now. I'm doing the correct stitch. It's actually so much quicker because I have done a lot more crochet projects since then, and so my crochet skills are definitely better, as well as my speed. I know what I'm doing. I actually finished one of the front panels of this cardigan on the drive down, and I'm going to be starting the second panel I think tomorrow, but let me show you what I have so far. All right, here's my bag of yarn and crochet supplies that I brought on this trip. I honestly could have brought like a larger bag with more things, but there are some other things that I want to work on this trip, and I'm going to share those with you, and I'm really excited about them because they're super fun. And they're like a little glimpse of some fun future things to look forward to this year. Okay, so anyways, this is the pink yarn. It's this gorgeous blushy pink. I thought that this was really similar to the Cezanne sweater because I wanted to make the blush pink version. Although since starting this project, I've gotten way more into color seasons, and I'm pretty sure that I'm a bright spring. If not a bright spring, a normal spring, but I'm like 98% sure that I'm a bright spring. If you're into color seasons, drop a comment below and let me know what season you are and also what season you think I am. Like for example, this pink sweater I think looks amazing on me, and it's in the bright spring color season. There is, I think, a light pink in the bright spring, but I don't think it's this color. So anyways, I'm still determined to finish this sweater because I started and already put this much work into it and literally bought all the yarn. So anyways, there's that. So I got this yarn from Joanns, again, like a year ago or over a year ago. And it was an acrylic wool blend, which is not ideal. I really hate acrylic fibers, but this was before I really was into crochet and really into sourcing natural fibers for my crochet projects. And usually my philosophy is if there is a predominant amount of natural fiber, I'm okay with that. And I think this one was 50-50. I can't remember. So anyways, I much prefer my knitwear to be wool, obviously. So this was a little bit of that. And I also didn't want to spend a ton of money on yarn for my first project. So anyways, with all that being said, like I said, I've completed the back of the cardigan. So the back panel of the cardigan would essentially be this shape, but like wider. So it'd be like double this. So I completed that. That's also what I took apart literally in December and then started back from the beginning. But thankfully completed that. And then this is the front panel on the right side. And then tomorrow I'm going to start working on the second panel for the other side. So this is the stitch. I really loved how it looks. It's a really pretty like ribbed pattern. This is a yarn over back loop only crochet stitch, if you're familiar with that. And I am using, I think, a 4.5 gauge for the top, and then the bottom is a 3.5. So it's really nice because it has kind of this smaller ribbing at the bottom, and then the crochet gets bigger. So the top of the cardigan is gonna be a little bit more roomy. And then I'm gonna have that like ribbing at the bottom, which I really, really love. The sleeves are the next thing that I have to crochet after the front panels are done. And then I also have to crochet all the borders. So I got this pattern off of Etsy. I don't remember what the Etsy shop was, but I will link it down below if you're interested in checking it out. I selected this pattern because obviously the shape of it was as close to the Cezanne Emily cardigan as I could get. The only thing is that the Emily cardigan has raglan sleeves and this pattern has satin sleeves, which I'm kind of bummed about because I honestly love raglan sleeves in knitwear. I think it's so pretty. But again, this was like my first crochet project, and if I were to do a raglan sleeve, I think the crochet stitching would be a little bit more complicated if you're familiar with crochet. So anyways, it's still going to look beautiful, and I'm so excited to finish it because it's gonna look so cute with dresses and skirts that I've been sewing recently, and it just really fits in to the style aesthetic that I'm really wanting to curate in my wardrobe this year, which I really think is going to be my style aesthetic for the rest of my life because it just really fits into my life and makes sense. But that's a topic for another video. This project is going to be like over 1.5 years by the time it's all said and done, but I'm hoping to maybe just get the other panels done on this trip, and then all I have to do is the sleeves and all the binding. So there's all that. I did bring yarn for another crochet project that's smaller. It's a skinny scarf. It looks very similar to the Knit Sophie scarf that literally everyone has been making, and I loved the miniature Sophie scarf, but I haven't gotten into knitting yet, so I decided that I would make a skinny scarf that was crochet. So I made a red one in December and absolutely love it, but I'm also wanting one that's a little bit more of a neutral color. So I have this yarn that's kind of a tannish golden. This is a bamboo viscose and cotton blend. I also got this one from Joanns. This is the premium yarn knit and crochet. This brand has some really great natural fiber and synthetic blend options from Joanns, and I know I'm talking about Joanns. I'm literally all about to lose them, which is such a blow to the sewing and crafting community, and it's so sad. But anyways, that's where a lot of my yarn so far has come. I think we're also planning to do a little trip into town later this week, and there's a yarn shop in town, so I am hoping to source some wool yarn that I really can't find anywhere else, and maybe use that for a fun project in the future. Not on this trip obviously, but in the future. So anyways, I also have this, but to be honest, I have no clue if I'm going to even start crocheting this project because I really just want to work on my cardigan. And outside of all my crochet projects, I also brought my laptop and something that I'm focusing on for this trip because, like I said, I have literally all week in this cabin. Today's Monday. We've been here for 2 days, but we have till Friday, I think, when we leave. So still a good amount of time. I want to be working on my patterns. If you have been following my channel for like the past 6 months or been following me on social media, you know that in the fall I started taking a digital pattern making class, learning how to use Adobe Illustrator to illustrate and draft patterns and then turn those into PDF patterns that you can sell. Like, that is my ultimate dream, is to take all of these clothes that I have drafted myself and sewn and loved. I know so many other people would love these styles and these items of clothes, these skirts and these dresses, and their style is so similar to mine that I want to make these patterns available for other people to create and sew their dream wardrobe, because that is truly why I do what I do, is to encourage you and inspire you to create and curate your dream wardrobe on a budget, and sewing is one way that you can do that. So anyways, I had 2 patterns that I drafted out in that course. They need a little bit of fine tuning, and then the next step is grading them and actually adding all the different sizes. So that is something that I'm hoping to delve into on this trip a bit more. But before we came on this trip, I actually drafted out and sewed up a beautiful pin tuck skirt, and I fell in love with it so much. I was sharing about it on social media, and so many of my followers were falling in love with it too, and I was like, what if I were to turn this into a pattern? This skirt would be so much quicker and easier to turn into a pattern first than a dress, so much easier to do sizing on. And so many people really love the idea of that because I think it's so fun. I'll pop a picture of it right here. I'm currently calling it the Cordelia skirt, inspired by Anne from Anne of Green Gables, because she always wanted to be called Cordelia because she thought it was just such a sophisticated and feminine and exciting romantic name. Obviously her name was Anne with an E, but this skirt very much is reminiscent of Edwardian fashion, and Edwardian fashion has a lot of pin tucks, and so I really wanted a name that encapsulated so much kind of style and story inspiration that I have drawn from Anne of Green Gables over the years, ever since I was young, but also that encapsulated what the aesthetic of this skirt is. So anyways, I've already started drafting out this skirt because it's a fairly easy pattern to draft. It's kind of just like a rectangle, but you have to add in all of the pattern markings for the pin tucks, and then do all of your sizing and add in different options for a ruffle and not a ruffle and all those things. So I started drafting that out 2 days ago, and I'm hoping to do a little bit more this week in regards to figuring out my like size guide and actually grading out sizes for this pattern. I've actually been polling my Instagram followers a ton, so if you aren't following me on Instagram, check the link in the description and go head over to Instagram and follow me, because I love asking my Instagram followers their opinions about patterns that I am working on, because obviously my patterns are created for the amazing people who love to sew and who have similar styles to mine. And so I'm wanting to know, like, what are things you look for in a pattern? How do you like patterns to be, you know, formulated, and all of those different things? So I've been pulling them a lot, and they've given me a ton of amazing feedback. So I'm hoping to dive into this pattern a little bit more this week, and I will definitely be showing you what that looks like and some behind the scenes of the pattern drafting in addition to crochet. And then something else I was playing around with today is branding for my patterns, and I'm so excited about this. On social media right now, I just exist like as myself as a brand, because so much of what I do is just connected to my life and my love of fashion and style and thrifting and sewing and all of those things. But when it comes to patterns, patterns are very much an extension of who I am, but I want a brand that also encapsulates like who I am, and my inspiration and the inspiration for these patterns. And so I have honestly been brainstorming for 6 months on branding. I had this original idea and then completely changed course to the idea that I am at now. And honestly, I'm so obsessed with it. I feel like it truly captures who I am right now as a person when it comes to style and life and fashion and sewing. And so I will have to give you some sneak peeks on what that branding looks like. I was playing around with fonts today and logos and some fun patterns and colors, and it's just so awesome. So anyways, those are all of the things that you have to look forward to in this video if I haven't talked your head off already. So stay tuned for some cozy cabin crafting, crochet, pattern making, brand designing with beautiful snowy views. Okay, so these are the gorgeous views from the cabin porch. These views specifically are just so stunning. Like, how can you not just enjoy sitting inside looking out the windows at this gorgeous view? Those are all of the ski runs that everyone is going on, and I am not going on this year. But how pretty. Alright, today is Tuesday and I am hoping to do a little bit more crochet today. I actually started on my next panel for the front of my cardigan last night. I feel like I worked on it for probably like 50 minutes, maybe to an hour. I'm doing that math based on like a 45-minute episode of a TV show and the beginning of a movie. And while in all like retrospect, it's not actually a lot of work that I got done crochet-wise, in my math of crochet, I think that this was actually a lot that I got done, especially just compared to like last year and how slow I was. So anyways, not that much, but also kind of a lot. So anyways, this is like the front button. Well, it's gonna be next to like the button placket of my cardigan. So now I just have to start lengthening my rows to create like the curved neckline. So that's what I'm gonna continue working on today. I love that this crochet stitch specifically has gotten a lot faster for me. So I feel like if I really put my mind to it, I could probably get this entire panel done this week. But like I said, there's other things that I want to be working on this week as well, like branding and working on drafting a pattern and revisiting patterns that I already drafted and working on like the grading plans for those. So anyways, there's that. I also was going to try and start working on a skinny scarf last night with this yarn, but I realized that I hate this yarn. So if you look at it, you probably can't really tell in the camera, but basically this yarn is like giant embroidery thread. So if you're familiar with embroidery thread, there's all of those little threads, which is a little bit different than like yarn. The yarn fibers tend to stick together better. They have a little bit of kind of a wave and a crimp, and I feel like yarn just does not unravel nearly as bad as this. And so I started crocheting with it, and my crochet hooks were just getting caught in like all those little fibers and threads. And so I don't really think I want to use this for a skinny scarf. So we're kind of scrapping that project, which is fine because I still have my cardigan to work on. But I do want to give y'all a little bit of a sneak peek at some of the things I was working on yesterday for branding for my patterns, and then also the pattern that I started working on Sunday, which is a skirt pattern that I am playing around with and might potentially, fingers crossed, be the first pattern that I actually release this year. Okay, so this is all of the branding stuff that I was playing around with yesterday, and y'all are actually like the first people to see a branding sneak peek for me, so here's that. Okay, so I already had this idea of like what I wanted my name to be and also like the font that I wanted to use. And I wanted something that was very cross stitch like. And I realized that the fonts on Adobe, they have this whole library of additional fonts you can download, and they had one that was very folky and had these fonts that are exactly what I was looking for. And then they also, within that font pack, had like an icon portion, and the icons are very folky, very prairie Scandinavian, and that is what a lot of my inspiration is being drawn from in regards to branding. So here are some of my brand colors that I had already decided on when I was playing around with this in Canva. So these are the kind of colors I'm going with. And then I'm doing my name, and I was playing around with this little kind of patchworky, this little quilt cross stitch icon, which I really like. Different fonts for my tagline, but this is kind of like the overall idea of my color scheme, like a buttery yellow and a red, which I think is just so fun. And I was playing around with kind of smaller icons and logos, and I thought these are really cool. But my favorite thing is this print that I created with all of the icons that were part of the font pack, because I wanted some type of textile that was very Scandinavian, folky, prairie fabric print. That was this cream and blue based on a journal I actually saw from Papier, the like really cute paper journal company. So anyways, I redid it in all these fun icons, and I just think it's so cute. So anyways, that's what I was playing with. yesterday in regards to branding, and I think it just turned out really fun. Now, like I said, I have been wanting to work on patterns this week, and so when we got here, I started drafting out the pattern pieces for the Cordelia skirt, which, like I said, is a skirt that I recently made. I drafted it I created it just by cutting out my fabric pieces and drawing on my lines for my pin text, but I wanted a digital version. And so this is the pattern piece I'm working with right now. As you can see, it's like pretty simple, but the main thing is where you place all of your folds. And then I'm also drafting out like pocket pieces and like bonus ruffles, depending on the styles you want to add. So that's what I'm working on there. But kind of the big part of drafting out this pattern and crafting it in a way where I can actually like launch it and put it out into the world is working on my sizing. So that's also what I've been playing around with, is what my size chart would be. I've been analyzing different size charts from different brands and different patterns and just standard size charts to really figure out what my sizing would be and my measurement. So that is a huge part of pattern making and getting your pattern ready for market that I think a lot of people really don't think about, but it's a really important part of the pattern making process. So there's a sneak peek at everything I've been doing for branding and for pattern making. So I'm gonna hopefully continue working on those today, but also do some crochet. And I think I'm gonna listen to an audiobook or catch up on a new podcast episode from my favorite podcast while I am crocheting, because that's just a little bit more of like a chill activity, whereas everything on the computer is a little bit more like intensive. You kind of have to use your brain a little bit more and it's not quite as relaxing. So I think we're gonna do some crochet this morning, and then we're gonna hop into this afternoon probably when everyone is gone. So everyone's actually skiing today, so I have the entire house to myself, which I love. I am a hardcore introvert in the respect that I love when I have an empty house to myself. It's literally the best thing ever. So if any of you who are watching this are introverts, I bet you can probably relate to that. So yeah, let me know your thoughts about that in the comments. If you love having an empty house to yourself with like nobody there and you just have like projects to work on by yourself, an empty house. It's so fun. So anyways, let's dive into crochet. Good morning. It is another day in the mountains of Montana, and it snowed last night, and so all of the trees have this beautiful snowy powder all over them. So I have to show you the gorgeous work from home views for today. Let me see if I can just turn around and show it to you behind me if I change this. So my face is super dark, but you can kind of see the snow on the trees. I'll take you outside though and actually show you what it looks like, because it's just the perfect winter wonderland. Okay, this is what it looks like outside today. It is so pretty. I love it when snow is just like dusted over the branches of trees. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's going to be a great day for everyone who's skiing because there will be some wonderful powder, but I personally just love the snowy trees. Today I am planning to definitely crochet a little bit more, but I realized that if I keep crocheting like a lot in one day, I'm going to get through my front panel really fast, and I didn't bring another like ream, if that's what you even call it, of yarn to start working on my sleeves. And I really wish I would have, because this project is going way more quickly than I thought. But tomorrow I think we're supposed to be going into town, and I'm hoping to get some yarn from the local fabric store and work on a skinny scarf. So that's what I'm holding out for. But today I'm actually working on designing and planning out some social media posts for my Instagram. I've been trying to be a lot more consistent and specific this year about what I'm sharing on social media, and sharing a lot more like sewing focused content, budget sewing content, because that is a huge part of what I do and what I encourage and who I am as a sewist. And so I've had all these fun ideas for different Instagram carousels and reels and things like that. So I've been working on designing those on Canva this morning. Right now I'm currently working on one for how to save money sewing, with all of my tips that I've literally been using for 15 years. So I'm super excited about this specific post, and I will definitely be sharing it here on YouTube on my like community side of posts, but also on social media. So if you aren't following me on social media and you want additional fun sewing tips and tricks and education this year, definitely follow me on Instagram, because I am sharing a lot more over there, and it's a lot of things that I haven't necessarily always shared on YouTube. And even if there are things I've shared on YouTube, it's in a much more condensed, easily digestible kind of grouping on social media. So anyways, I'm just really excited about that. So I'm gonna dive back in and keep working on that this morning.
I think it's been my day in Cleveland. Our country.
Good morning. It is Thursday. We have 2 more. No, it's not Thursday. Today is Friday. This is our last day in Montana, and then we're leaving tomorrow, headed back, driving in the RV. But I wanted to show you the yarn that I got at the local yarn store. So yesterday we went into town and we stopped at this yarn store that they have called the Spotted Sheep. I personally love the name. I think it's so fun and so cute, and they spin and they dye all of their yarns in the store, which I absolutely love. I think just the art behind fiber making and making yarn is just so amazing. It's one of those incredible traditional skills that definitely aligns with so many hobbies that we have today, like crochet and knitting, and just being able to appreciate the art of turning a fiber into a yarn and then being able to use that yarn to make something else. It's just so cool. So I knew that I wanted to get a yarn color that was a smaller ply, like a skinnier yarn, and make another skinny scarf. And I wanted to get a skinnier yarn so that the scarf itself would be a little bit more delicate. And I also wanted to get a yarn that was in my color season. So I think I've mentioned this before in this specific video, trying to pick colors or buy things that align with my color season. And so I've been really into butter yellow recently. If you watched my sewing room makeover, you know that I love butter yellow. I painted my sewing table butter yellow, and I think this yarn is actually pretty much the same color, but here's what that looks like. Okay, so I already started crocheting my scarf last night, but this is the yarn. It's this beautiful butter yellow, and I think the color itself was actually called butter or something, and it's a much smaller ply. I absolutely love it. So the yarn store primarily focuses on merino wool. They had yak wool, and then they had some blends, and I really loved all of the wool variety. Oh, they also had a wool silk blend, which was absolutely luxurious. That one was like $38 for a skein. The skein though was like 300 or 400 yards, which is a lot for a project. So while $38 was a little bit more than I wanted to spend, I actually thought the prices were very comparable for high quality hand spun, hand dyed wool. And so I get the pricing and I appreciate that, but I opted for a cheaper version, which was this yellow, which is actually a wool nylon blend. I am not the biggest fan of synthetic fabrics, especially nylon, but when it comes to knitwear, sometimes I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit price-wise, because I'm trying to do everything as like budget friendly conscious as I can, while also being natural fiber conscious. So this was like 80% wool, 20% nylon, which I didn't think was actually that bad. And they had this yarn in a different color that was also a merino, that was also the same price, but it was a little bit larger of a ply, and I really loved the smaller version ply of this yarn, so that's what I ended up going with. And so far the scarf is looking really cute. I took a couple video clips from inside the store, so you've probably seen those from yesterday. But yeah, today I really don't know what I'm going to be doing. Definitely I think going to be working on my miniature scarf a little bit more, and then also maybe I'll just try to crack out the rest of my cardigan panel while I'm here, and then work on my scarf on the road. That sounds a little bit more better management of my time. And then also probably do a little bit of patterning today. I was working more on my pin duck skirt, my Cordelia skirt yesterday, and working out the paperless pattern version, where if people want to just trace the lines and cut their pattern directly out of fabric, they can do that. But I think I'm also going to give the option of having a printable pattern and a projectable pattern. So there's going to be 3 different options depending on what people want in regards to the skirt. So I've been playing with that. I think I have my size chart figured out, which is really helpful because now I can actually start grading, and I can actually use that size chart for all the rest of my patterns grading wise. So that's super helpful. So anyways, it's been a busy week doing things that I really don't always get to do at home because I have so many other things that I'm being pulled into, and also things that I don't feel bad about doing here because I'm not having to do farm tours and other things at home. So it's been like a really nice creative escape, and I hope that y'all have enjoyed watching all of these little projects that I've been working on. All right, it's the last day that we are here in Montana. We're actually leaving out this morning in a little bit, in a couple of hours. So I wanted to update you on the progress of my crochet project since this is technically the end of this video. So I finished the other front panel of my sweater right here. So now we have 2 front panels and a back panel. So when I get home, all I have to do is finish my sleeves and do the binding. So this cardigan is coming together and I'm so excited. I definitely got way more crochet accomplished this year on the trip than I did last year when I was starting this. I also have continued to work on my mini scarf, and this is so far what I have of my mini scarf. It's gonna be so cute and I am obsessed with this color. So this will be my on the road crochet project in the RV if I don't get sick, because sometimes I get car sick. But so far on these trips, I have worn like pressure bands and not had any issues, so I get a lot of crochet done. So this is the last project that I have to work on from this trip. Overall, the things that I wanted to get accomplished, I did get accomplished, and I got a good amount accomplished on my skirt pattern as well. So I'm very excited to continue working on that when I get home, starting to put the finishing touches on it and get it to a place where I can actually make it available for people to use and to sew. So stay tuned for that. And if you are curious as to kind of the progress of my crochet projects and you want to continue seeing the progress of those, I usually share a lot of my crochet projects on my Instagram in addition to behind the scenes of pattern making. So if you aren't already following me on Instagram, make sure to check out the link in the description of this video. You can follow me over there. I love to include my followers in questions about patterns and questions about projects and all the things like that. So that is where you are probably going to see a lot of pre-details of patterns and projects before you even see them on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. And with all that being said, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this. This was a little bit different of a video than I have done in a while. Just kind of a cozy little crafting and project vlog, really taking you along with me through the process of pattern making and branding and crochet and what it looks like to be cozy in a cabin doing projects. So let me know what you thought. Make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't already subscribed to my channel, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on new videos in the future. See you in the next video. Bye.